The morning sun rose over New Haven Colony, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange. Park Ji-won stood outside the education center, watching her younger brother bounce on his heels with excitement. Daeho clutched a datapad to his chest, his eyes bright with the kind of energy only an 8-year-old could have this early. Look. Daeho thrust the datapad toward her. I finished my project about the Vrexians. Did you know they can see in 12 different light spectrums? And their culture is based on hunting rituals that go back thousands of years. Ji-won smiled and ruffled his dark hair. That's amazing, little brother. You worked really hard on this. She knelt down to his eye level. I promise we'll go through it together tonight after my shift, okay? Promise? Daeho held out his pinky finger. Promise. Ji-won linked her pinky with his, their ritual since he was small. She stood and adjusted her security uniform. Now go learn something new today. And stay with your group during the field trip, understand? I will. Daeho waved and ran toward the entrance where other children, both human and alien, were gathering. Ji-won watched him disappear through the doors, unaware that this simple goodbye would become the last normal moment of their lives. Her communicator buzzed. Commander Lee Tai-sung's voice came through. Officer Park, report to the security station. We have reports of unusual activity near the forest boundary. Ji-won headed toward her patrol vehicle, her mind already shifting to work mode. New Haven was a peaceful colony, but the wilderness beyond the settlement held dangers. Wild animals, unstable terrain, and occasionally visitors who didn't follow coalition rules. What she didn't know was that something had been watching the colony for weeks. Something patient. Something dangerous. In the shadows of the forest, Kralvex adjusted his camouflage field and observed the education center through multiple visual sensors. The Vrexian hunter stood 7 feet tall, his body covered in dark chitinous armor that made him look like a nightmare creature from Earth's old stories. But Kralvex was very real and very dangerous. He had been studying the humans for 23 days. These strange, soft creatures intrigued him. They were weak by galactic standards. No natural armor, no enhanced strength, no advanced sensory organs. Yet they had joined the coalition and were expanding across the stars. It made no sense. Kralvex had chosen his target carefully, the small human male child who showed interest in Vrexian culture. It was perfect. He would take the child as a live specimen, study human weaknesses, and prove to the galaxy that these creatures were nothing special. Just another prey species pretending to be equals. The field trip began at midday. Daeho walked with his classmates through the colony's outer gardens, pointing at different plants while their teacher, a patient Kathrani with blue skin and 4 arms, explained the local ecosystem. Human children mixed with alien youngsters, all learning together. Remember to stay close, the teacher said. The forest boundary is marked by the red posts. Do not go beyond them. Daeho nodded, but his attention was caught by something at the edge of the forest, a flicker of movement, a shimmer in the air that shouldn't be there. His curious nature pulled him forward, just a few steps away from the group. He wanted to see what it was. That was when everything went wrong. A force field wrapped around Daeho so fast he didn't have time to scream. The world blurred. He felt himself being pulled backward into the trees. His classmates didn't notice immediately. By the time the teacher started counting heads, Daeho was already deep in the forest, trapped in an invisible cage. Kralvex looked down at his prize. The human child stared back at him, eyes wide but not crying. Interesting. Most prey species panicked immediately. This one seemed to be thinking, calculating. You are now part of a great study, Kralvex said in perfect human language. Your species claims to be strong, but I will prove otherwise. You should feel honored. Daeho's voice was small but steady. My sister will come for me. Kralvex made a sound that might have been laughter. One human female against a Vrexian hunter? Child, your sister will never find you, and if she tries, she will fail. This is the natural order. But Daeho remembered the promise. The pinky promise. Ji-won never broke her promises. He said nothing more, just watched and waited. His sister had taught him that. Stay calm, stay smart, wait for your moment. The alarm reached Ji-won during her patrol. Her communicator exploded with urgent messages. A child missing. Field trip gone wrong. All units respond. And then the name that made her blood turn to ice. Kim Daeho. Her patrol vehicle screamed through the colony streets. Other officers were already at the education center when she arrived. Commander Tae-sung stood near the forest boundary, examining something on a scanner. Jiwon forced herself to walk, not run. She was a professional. She had training. But inside, her heart hammered against her ribs like it wanted to break free. "Commander," she said, her voice level despite everything. "Report." Tae-sung looked at her with sympathy in his eyes. "Officer Park, we have a situation. Your brother was taken approximately 47 minutes ago. We found evidence of advanced camouflage technology. Phyrexian signature." The world seemed to tilt. Phyrexian, the same species Daeho had been so excited to learn about. The same species known throughout the galaxy as hunters and predators. Dr. Choi Ha-eun, the colony's xenobiologist and Jiwon's closest friend, appeared at her side. "Jiwon, I've analyzed the text signature. This isn't random. It's a hunting ritual. Phyrexians sometimes take live specimens to study prey species." "How long?" Jiwon's voice came out flat, cold. "What? How long does my brother have before this hunter decides he's done studying?" Ha-eun hesitated. "Based on historical data, maybe 3 to 4 days before he's either sold or killed." Ambassador Thalok, a tall Kathrani with gray skin and wise eyes, stepped forward. "Officer Park, I understand your distress. However, we must follow proper coalition protocols. I will file an official complaint with the Phyrexian government. This situation should be resolved within 4 to 6 weeks through diplomatic channels." Jiwon turned to look at the ambassador. Her eyes had changed. The warmth from this morning was gone, replaced by something cold and sharp as broken glass. "My brother doesn't have 6 weeks, Ambassador. He has hours." She walked to the forest boundary and stared into the trees. Her hands moved automatically, checking her equipment. Weapon, ammunition, medical kit, tracker, survival gear. Everything was there. Everything she needed. Commander Tae-sung stepped beside her. He spoke quietly so only she could hear. "Officer Park, if you go into those woods alone, you'll be violating 12 different regulations. I would have to report you. I would have to stop you." He paused. "However, I need to return to the command center to file paperwork. That will take me at least 20 minutes. What you do in that time is beyond my immediate observation." Jiwon met his eyes. Understanding passed between them. "Thank you, Commander." Ambassador Thalok called after her as she moved toward the tree line. "Officer Park, you cannot go alone into the wild territories. This is not wise. This is not proper procedure." Jiwon didn't stop walking. She didn't look back. Her voice carried across the clearing, clear and cold and absolutely certain. "Watch me." And then she was gone, swallowed by the forest shadows. Behind her, Ha-eun whispered to the ambassador, "You don't understand. That's not just a security officer. That's Daeho's sister, and there is nothing in this galaxy more dangerous than a human protecting family." The hunt had begun, but the question that would soon echo across the stars was simple. Who was hunting whom? The forest was dark and strange. Trees with silver bark reached toward a purple sky. Glowing plants pulsed with soft blue light. Strange animals made sounds Jiwon had never heard before. This was the wilderness beyond New Haven's safe boundaries, where few humans dared to travel alone. Jiwon moved through the shadows like she had done this all her life. Her eyes scanned the ground, reading signs that others would miss. A broken branch here, disturbed soil there, 3 drops of alien blood on a leaf. She was following a trail that was hours old, but to her trained eyes, it might as well have been painted in bright colors. Back at the command center, officers watched her progress through tracking drones. They whispered to each other, amazed. The terrain she was crossing should have been impossible to navigate alone. Sharp rocks, steep hills, areas where the local plants released toxic gases. Yet she moved through it all without hesitation. Dr. Ha-eun stood at the main console, watching her friend disappear deeper into danger. An alien officer beside her, a insectoid Talvekian named Rikstar, clicked his mandibles in confusion. How is she doing this? Those tracking methods are primitive, ancient. Why not use modern scanners? Ha-eun smiled sadly. Because humans evolved as hunters. Thousands of years ago on Earth, my species would chase prey for days. We would follow tracks, read the land, never give up. We called it persistence hunting. We weren't the fastest or strongest, but we never stopped. Ever. Rikstar watched the screen, but she is one small human. The Phyrexian is a trained warrior. This makes no sense. You'll see, Ha-eun whispered. You'll all see. Deep in the forest, Kralvex was beginning to feel something he rarely experienced. Concern. He had expected the humans to follow proper procedures. File reports. Wait for diplomats. Instead, someone was tracking him. Someone good. He checked his sensors for the 10th time in an hour. There. Movement. Closing in faster than should be possible. He had covered his tracks perfectly. He had used every trick he knew. Yet this pursuer was gaining ground. Daeho sat quietly in his invisible prison. He watched the alien hunter become more nervous with each passing hour. The Vrexian kept looking over his shoulder, checking weapons. Moving faster, good. G1 was coming. She had promised. Your sister is foolish, Kralvex said suddenly. She should have waited for proper channels. Now she will die in these woods and you will have no one. Daeho looked at the alien with calm eyes. You don't know my sister. I know she is one weak human against a Vrexian hunter. The outcome is certain. If you're so certain, Daeho said quietly, why do you keep looking behind you? Kralvex had no answer to that. G1 found the first campsite at sunset. Kralvex had tried to hide his presence, but she saw everything. She examined the ground. The disturbed plants, the faint heat signature still lingering in the air. She calculated his direction, his speed, his intentions. Then she did something that made the watching officers back at base gasp in surprise. She destroyed the campsite completely. She scattered Kralvex's supply cache. She contaminated his water reserves. She broke his backup equipment. Every piece of gear he had hidden for return trips, she found and destroyed. What is she doing? Ambassador Thelok asked, watching the drone footage. That is destruction of property. That violates 3 different coalition laws. Hayun's smile was grim. She's hunting. Real hunting. She's not trying to catch him quickly. She's wearing him down, making him tired, making him desperate, making him make mistakes. That is... Thelok searched for words. That is terrifying. Yes, Hayun agreed. It is. The first real confrontation came at dawn. Kralvex had set up an ambush, using Daeho's position as bait. He waited behind cover, weapons ready, confident in his superior strength and technology. When G1 appeared, he would strike fast and end this pursuit. But G1 didn't come the way he expected. She didn't come from the obvious path. She came from above, dropping from a tree branch he thought was too weak to hold a human. Her first shot disabled his main weapon. Her second destroyed his camouflage generator. Kralvex rolled behind a boulder, shocked. The human female wasn't attacking like a desperate family member. She was attacking like a trained soldier, like someone who had done this before. They exchanged fire for 30 seconds. Then G1 vanished into the forest as quickly as she had appeared. Kralvex checked himself. One injury, not serious. His equipment severely damaged. His confidence shaken. He looked down at Daeho. The child was smiling. I told you, Daeho said. You don't know my sister. Kralvex grabbed his gear and ran deeper into the forest. For the first time in his long career as a hunter, he felt like prey. Ambassador Thelok couldn't look away from the drone footage. What he had witnessed in the past hours changed everything he thought he knew about humans. He had believed them to be emotional creatures, ruled by feelings, incapable of the cold calculation needed for true combat. He had been wrong. He turned to Hayun. This Officer Park, what was her background before coming to New Haven? Earth military, special operations, search and rescue, urban combat, survival training. She volunteered for the most dangerous missions for 8 years. Then her parents died and she transferred here to be near Daeho. He's all the family she has left. Thelok felt a chill. All the family she has left. Now you understand, Hayun said softly. Kralvex didn't just kidnap a child. He took everything G1 has. And humans, Ambassador. Humans will tear apart the universe for their family. The hours passed. G1 continued her pursuit with machine-like efficiency. She didn't sleep. She didn't stop. She drank water while moving. She ate high-energy rations without breaking stride. Every few hours, she found and destroyed another one of Kralvex's supply caches. Every time he found himself with fewer resources, fewer options. The Vrexian hunter was learning a hard lesson. In his culture, hunts were about strength and technology, about overpowering prey with superior abilities. But humans hunted differently. They hunted with time, with patience, with the absolute refusal to give up. On the second day of pursuit, Kralvex tried another ambush. This time he was ready for her tactics. He prepared multiple fallback positions. He set traps along likely approach routes. He used every bit of his training and experience. G1 walked through his traps like she could see them. She avoided his fallback positions like she knew exactly where they were, and when they finally clashed again, it was brutal and fast. Kralvex landed several good hits. His strength was undeniable, but Ji-won didn't fight to win. She fought to injure, to slow him down, to take away more of his advantages. And then she was gone again, melting into the forest before he could press his physical superiority. Kralvex limped to where Daeho waited. The child watched him with knowing eyes. "She's not trying to beat you in a fair fight," Daeho said. "She's just wearing you down, like water on stone. Eventually the stone breaks." "Silence!" Kralvex shouted, but his voice held fear now, not anger. That night, something changed. Kralvex made a decision. He would stop running. He would find a defensible position and force a final confrontation. This chase had to end. He was injured, exhausted, and running out of supplies, but he was still a Vrexian warrior. He would make his stand and show this human the true meaning of power. He remembered the ancient ruins deeper in the forest, the deep canyons, perfect, strong walls, limited approaches, defensible. There he would wait. There he would end this. Ji-won found his trail leading toward the canyons. She stopped and smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Trapped himself," she whispered. "Good." Back at the command center, officers watched as both hunter and hunted moved toward the ancient ruins. Ambassador Thelok felt he should do something, intervene, stop this before it became an interstellar incident. But Commander Tae-sung put a hand on his shoulder. "Let it play out, Ambassador. Some things need to be seen. Some lessons need to be learned." "What lesson?" Thelok asked. Tae-sung's face was grim. "That humans are not prey. That we are not weak. That when you threaten our family, you awaken something that will not stop, will not quit, will not rest until justice is done. That, Ambassador, is the lesson your galaxy needs to learn." In the forest, a sound echoed through the trees. Low and steady, not quite human. The watching aliens couldn't identify it at first. Then Rikstar's mandibles clicked with sudden recognition. "That sound," he said. "I know it from Earth's database. It is called a badger. A small Earth creature known for never giving up, for fighting creatures 10 times its size, for protecting its young with absolute ferocity." The sound came again, closer, relentless. "The badger," Haun whispered, and somehow everyone knew it was now Ji-won's name. Not Officer Park, not the security officer. The badger. And badgers, as the galaxy was about to learn, never stop. The deep canyons were older than human space travel. Ancient stone walls rose hundreds of feet into the air, carved by winds that had blown for millions of years. Ruins of some forgotten civilization dotted the landscape, crumbling buildings, strange symbols, technology so old it had turned to dust. This was where Kralvex chose to make his final stand. He found a structure near the canyon center, a building with thick walls and only 2 entrances. Defensible, strong. Here, his superior strength and remaining weapons would matter. Here the human would have to face him directly. He set up his position carefully, weapons pointed at both entrances. Force field generators creating additional barriers, sensor nets to detect approaching threats, and in the center of it all, Daeho's containment field visible from outside, bait and shield at the same time. "Your sister will come," Kralvex said, checking his equipment. "And when she does, she will die. This terrain favors the defender. Basic military strategy." Daeho watched the alien work. "You still don't understand." "I understand perfectly. I am a trained warrior in a fortified position. She is one exhausted human with limited resources. The mathematics are simple. Math isn't everything," Daeho replied quietly. "Ji-won taught me that." Hours passed. Kralvex waited. His sensors showed nothing. The canyon was silent except for the wind whistling through ancient stones. Maybe the human had given up. Maybe she had finally accepted the logical outcome and returned to the colony to wait for proper diplomatic channels. Then his communicator buzzed. A message from his ship in orbit. Coalition forces had locked down all orbital access. No ships could land. No extractions possible. He was trapped on this world until the situation resolved. Kralvex felt something cold in his stomach. He wasn't making a stand. He was cornered. There was a difference. Ambassador Thelok arrived at the canyon rim with a small security team. He had decided that enough was enough. This situation needed diplomatic oversight before it became an interstellar incident. He would go down there, negotiate with both parties and resolve this peacefully. But when he descended into the canyon, he found something that stopped him cold. Evidence of Jiwan's passage, and what he saw made his blood run cold despite his warm body temperature. She had circled the entire canyon system. She had found every supply cache Kralvex had hidden, every backup position, every escape route, and she had systematically destroyed or blocked them all. The canyon had become a cage, and Kralvex was locked inside with her. Pilot Rickstar, who had offered to guide the ambassador through the dangerous terrain in exchange for future trading contracts, clicked his mandibles nervously. This is not rescue operation. This is siege warfare. She is not trying to save the child quickly. She is making sure the hunter has no escape. But the child is in danger, Thelok protested. Every moment increases risk. No, Rickstar said slowly. She knows the hunter needs the child alive. As long as the boy lives, the hunter has leverage. The moment he harms the child, he loses his only protection. She has calculated this. She is forcing him to make a choice. Surrender or die. But she gives him time to understand this. Time to be afraid. Ambassador Thelok stared at the insectoid pilot. That is brilliant, Rickstar finished. And terrifying. I have flown through 17 wars, Ambassador. I have seen combat specialists from 6 different species. This human, she fights like she has done this for lifetimes. She fights like it is natural as breathing. Inside his fortification, Kralvex was starting to understand his mistake. His sensors were failing one by one. Power draining faster than it should. Water supply contaminated when he wasn't looking. Food stores spoiled by some chemical he couldn't identify. She was dismantling his advantages piece by piece, not through direct combat, through patience, through knowledge of systems and supplies, through understanding that a fortification was only strong if it had resources. She is out there, he muttered, checking his failing sensors again. Watching, waiting. Yes, Deho agreed. She is, the sunset. The canyon filled with shadows. Strange sounds echoed off the ancient walls, making it impossible to determine direction or distance. Kralvex turned on lights, then turned them off again. Lights made him a target. Darkness meant he couldn't see her coming. He was trapped in a situation with no good options. This was new to him. Throughout his career, he had always been the one with advantages. Superior position, better technology, greater strength. Now all those advantages were gone or meaningless. He looked at Deho. The child hadn't shown fear once. Even now, trapped in a force field in the middle of hostile territory, the boy seemed calm. Patient, like he was just waiting for something inevitable. What did your sister teach you? Kralvex asked suddenly. About situations like this? Deho thought for a moment. She taught me that fear is just information. It tells you danger is near, but information only helps if you use it smart. She also taught me that the person who panics first loses first. I am not panicking, Kralvex said, but his voice lacked conviction. You're checking your sensors every 30 seconds. Your hands are shaking. You keep looking at the entrances even though your security net would alert you to any approach. That looks like panic to me. Kralvex had no answer. The child was right. He was panicking. He, a veteran hunter who had faced death 100 times, was panicking because of one human female he couldn't see. Outside, Ambassador Thelok made a decision. He would approach the fortification under diplomatic immunity. He would speak to Kralvex, offer terms for surrender and safe conduct off-world. This was what diplomats did. They prevented violence through communication, but before he could move, a figure emerged from the shadows. Jiwan. She looked tired. Dirt on her face, small injuries on her arms and hands, but her eyes were clear and focused. Ambassador, she said quietly, you need to leave. Now. Officer Park, I am here to negotiate a peaceful resolution. The Vrexian hunter is willing to discuss terms. We can end this without further violence. Jiwan's expression didn't change. Ambassador, with respect, this ends one way. He took my brother. He threatened my family. There are no negotiations. Then you plan to kill him? That would be murder under coalition law. I cannot permit it. I plan to get my brother back. What happens to Kralvex depends entirely on his choices. If he surrenders, I will take him into custody. If he fights, I will fight back. If he harms Deho, she paused, then yes, I will end him. But that will be his choice, not mine. Thelok studied her face. There was no rage there. No wild emotion. Just cold, clear determination. This was not a desperate family member. This was a soldier doing a job. Somehow that was more frightening. I will observe, he said finally, as a witness to what happens here. The galaxy needs to know the truth of this event. Agreed, Ji-Wan said. Stay behind me. Stay quiet. And, Ambassador? Record everything. Because what happens next, your galaxy needs to see. She moved toward the fortification, not rushing, not sneaking, just walking openly like she had every right to be there. Thelok and Rixtar followed at a distance, recording devices active. Kralvex's sensors detected her approach. He raised his weapon. Through the broken walls, he could see her clearly. One human, injured, tired, small compared to him. All he had to do was fire, but his hands shook. Because walking toward him wasn't a desperate rescuer. It was death itself wearing a human face, slow and patient and absolutely certain. Stay back, he shouted. I have the child. I will harm him if you come closer. Ji-Wan stopped. Her voice carried across the ruins, clear and cold. No, you won't, because the moment you hurt him, I have no reason to take you alive. And you know somewhere in that hunter brain of yours that you cannot beat me. Not anymore. I have taken everything from you. Your supplies, your advantages, your options. All you have left is one choice. Surrender or die. I am a Vrexian warrior. I do not surrender to prey species. Then you have learned nothing, Ji-Wan replied. And you will not survive your education. She took another step forward. Then another. Kralvex aimed his weapon but didn't fire. Couldn't fire. Because firing meant committing to a fight he now understood he couldn't win. Inside his containment field, Deho watched his sister approach. He had never doubted. Not once, she had promised. And Ji-Wan never broke her promises. The canyon held its breath. The ancient ruins waited, and in that moment the galaxy was about to learn a truth that would echo across the stars. Humans were not prey. They were not weak. And when you threatened their family, you awakened something that would never stop. The silence was about to shatter. The moment stretched like pulled wire. Ji-Wan stood 20 meters from the fortification, completely exposed. Kralvex aimed his weapon at her, his finger on the trigger. Ambassador Thelok and Rixtar watched from behind cover, recording everything. Then Ji-Wan moved. Not toward Kralvex. Sideways. A rolling dive behind a fallen pillar just as the Vrexian's shot scorched the air where she had stood. She came up firing, 3 quick shots that forced Kralvex to duck behind his barricade. Then she was moving again, using the ruins like she had memorized every stone. Thelok whispered to Rixtar, "She is outmatched in strength and firepower."
How can she possibly win?
"Watch," the pilot replied. "She is not trying to win with strength. She is using the terrain, the shadows, his fear. She is making him react instead of act. This is not about weapons. This is about will." Ji-Wan appeared on Kralvex's left, fired twice, then vanished before he could return fire. She appeared behind him, forcing him to spin and expose his position. She was everywhere and nowhere, a ghost in the ruins, and every move she made was calculated to create doubt and fear. Kralvex realized with growing horror that he was being hunted, in his own defensive position, by a creature half his size. This wasn't how it was supposed to work. Predators didn't become prey. Strong didn't lose to weak. Yet here he was, flinching at shadows, firing at ghosts, burning through ammunition while she barely wasted a shot. Inside the containment field, Deho watched his sister work with quiet pride. This was what Ji-Wan did. She didn't just fight. She thought. She adapted. She turned every disadvantage into an advantage. Their parents had taught them both that intelligence was humanity's greatest weapon. Ji-Wan had learned that lesson well. The boy also noticed something else. The containment field was fluctuating. Every time Kralvex moved suddenly or fired his weapon, the power system struggled to maintain multiple functions. Ji-Wan was forcing the Vrexian to choose between defending himself and maintaining the field. Deho had been watching the field's power patterns for days. He understood them now. There was a 3-second window when the field dropped to recharge its capacitors. 3 seconds. That's all he needed. He waited. Patient like his sister had taught him. Wait for the right moment. Don't rush. 1 chance is better than 3 bad attempts. Ji-Wan launched her final assault. She came from 3 different directions in rapid succession, using mirrors and reflected light to create false images, making Kralvex waste ammunition on illusions while she closed the distance. It was beautiful and terrifying to watch. Kralvex fired wildly, panic overtaking training. His weapon systems overheated. His power reserves dropped to critical levels. And then, for just 3 seconds, the containment field around Deho flickered and died. Deho didn't hesitate. He had loosened the power coupling days ago, just a tiny bit each time Kralvex wasn't looking. Now when the field dropped, he yanked the coupling free completely. The generator sparked and died permanently. The boy ran, not toward the exits, toward the thickest wall, where a crack in the ancient stone provided shelter. He made himself small and protected, exactly like G1 had taught him in their emergency drills. Kralvex spun around, seeing his prisoner escape. His leverage gone, his hostage freed. Now there was nothing between him and the Badger. G1 saw Deho reach safety. Relief flooded through her, but she didn't let it show. Not yet, the mission wasn't over. She still had to secure the threat. She emerged from cover, weapon aimed at Kralvex's center mass. "It's over," she said. Her voice was steady, professional. "Put down your weapon, surrender. You will be turned over to coalition authorities for trial." Kralvex laughed bitterly. "You would take me prisoner?
After I took your family?
You humans claim to be so emotional. Show me your rage. Show me your revenge. Prove you are no better than me." G1's aim never wavered. She could kill him. She wanted to kill him. Every instinct screamed for it. This creature had taken her brother, had threatened the only family she had left. One shot and it would be over. One shot and justice would be served, but she was more than her instincts. She was more than her rage. She was human, yes, with all the emotions and bonds that came with it, but she was also a soldier. And soldiers had discipline. Soldiers followed rules even when every fiber of their being screamed to break them. "No," she said quietly, "I will not prove you right. You believe humans are weak because we feel. You believe emotions make us easy to predict, easy to control. You're wrong. Our emotions make us strong. Our bonds give us purpose. Our love for family gives us strength to do what you cannot imagine. But unlike you, we know when to stop. We know the difference between justice and murder." She took one step closer. "I could kill you right now, I want to. But I won't, because I am not a monster. I am not you. I am a soldier, and soldiers have honor. Put down your weapon, Kralvex. This ends now." For a long moment, the Vrexian hunter stared at the human female. He saw something in her eyes that shook him to his core. Not weakness, not mercy, but strength beyond anything he understood. The strength to hold back when you had every reason not to. The strength to choose justice over revenge. His weapon clattered to the ground. G1 kept her weapon trained on him as she moved to secure him with restraints. Ambassador Thelok emerged from cover, his recording device capturing everything. Rickstar clicked his mandibles in what might have been respect. Only when Kralvex was secured did G1 lower her weapon. Only then did she turn toward where Deho sheltered. Only then did the professional soldier facade crack. "Deho," she called softly. The boy emerged from his shelter and ran to her. She dropped to her knees and caught him in a fierce hug. For the first time in 3 days, she allowed herself to shake. To feel the fear she had pushed down. To acknowledge how close she had come to losing him. "I knew you'd come," Deho whispered. "You promised." "Always," G1 replied, her voice thick with emotion. "Always, little brother." Ambassador Thelok watched the reunion with something like awe. He had spent 50 years in diplomatic service. He had studied hundreds of species. He thought he understood the galaxy's peoples. But this moment taught him he understood nothing about humans. They weren't weak because they felt emotions. They were strong because of those emotions. Their bonds weren't chains. They were weapons. Their love wasn't a vulnerability. It was armor. And their determination wasn't stubbornness. It was the most powerful force in the galaxy. He approached G1 carefully. She stood, keeping Deho close. Her weapon was holstered, but her stance said she was ready to fight again if needed. "Officer Park," Thelok said formally, "I have recorded this entire event. The galaxy will know what happened here. They will know that you had cause and opportunity to kill, yet chose justice instead. This will change many things." G1 shook her head. "I don't care about changing the galaxy, Ambassador. I care about my brother. The rest is just noise." "Perhaps," Thelok said, "but sometimes one act of courage echoes farther than anyone expects. You have shown the galaxy what humans truly are, not the weak prey species many believed, not the emotional children some dismissed, but warriors who fight with both strength and honor, protectors who will cross any distance, face any danger, overcome any obstacle for their families. He gestured to Kralvex. And you have shown us that mercy can be more frightening than revenge. That restraint can be more powerful than rage. The Vrexian hunting clans will not forget this lesson. Rixtar approached, his compound eyes reflecting the setting sun. He spoke in his clicking language, which Thelok translated. He says the galaxy has a new name for you, Officer Park. The Badger, small but fierce, seemingly outmatched but unstoppable. It is both a warning and a compliment. Jiwan almost smiled. I've been called worse. They made their way out of the canyons as the stars emerged above. Kralvex walked in restraints, his head bowed, not just in defeat but in understanding. He had learned the hardest lesson a hunter could learn. That strength came in forms he never imagined. That the prey he dismissed might be more dangerous than any predator. By the time they reached New Haven's boundaries, word had already spread. The colony's residents lined the streets, humans and aliens together, watching as the Badger returned with her brother safe. There was no celebration, just quiet respect. They understood they had witnessed something that would be remembered for generations. Commander Tae-sung met them at the security station. He looked at Jiwan, then at Daeho safe beside her, then at Kralvex in custody. He nodded slowly. Well done, Officer Park. Take 3 days leave. Spend time with your brother. We'll handle the paperwork and the diplomatic mess. Thank you, Commander. That night, in their small apartment in the colony, Jiwan and Daeho sat together. She had checked him for injuries 3 times. He had told her about his captivity, about how he used what she taught him. They ate simple food and talked about simple things, deliberately not discussing the larger implications of what had happened. Before sleep, Daeho asked, "Were you scared?" Jiwan was quiet for a moment, then honestly, terrified, every second. But I couldn't let fear stop me. You needed me. That's what makes you brave, Daeho said sleepily, being scared but doing it anyway. 3 months after the incident, life on New Haven had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. The story of the Badger had spread across Coalition space like wildfire. Ambassador Thelok's recordings had been viewed billions of times. News agencies from 100 worlds analyzed every moment of Jiwan's pursuit. But in the small apartment where Jiwan and Daeho lived, things were wonderfully normal. She still walked him to the education center each morning. He still showed her his projects with bright enthusiasm. They still made their pinky promises. The only difference was the occasional stares from visiting aliens who recognized the Badger. Jiwan hated the attention. I just did my job, she told Commander Tae-sung when he showed her the latest news report. Any family member would do the same. That's exactly why the galaxy is paying attention, Tae-sung replied. You showed them something they didn't understand, that human families are not weakness, that our emotions are strength, that we will cross any distance, face any danger for those we love. The effects rippled outward. The Coalition Council held emergency sessions about human capabilities. Military academies across 36 worlds added case studies of Jiwan's tactics to their curriculum. The term Badger entered common use as both warning and compliment. Most surprisingly, the Vrexian hunting clans issued an unprecedented decree. Humans were officially removed from their list of acceptable prey species. More than that, they offered formal apologies and requested diplomatic meetings to better understand human culture. Kralvex himself became an unexpected voice in this new dialogue. Serving his sentence under Coalition law, he spent his time writing detailed accounts of his encounter with Jiwan. His writings were studied by military strategists and xenopsychologists alike. One passage became particularly famous. I hunted what I believed was prey. Instead, I awakened something I could not defeat. Not because the human was stronger or faster or better armed, but because she would not stop. Could not stop. Her brother was her purpose, and purpose is more powerful than any weapon. I learned that day that humans measure strength differently than we do. They measure it in determination, in bonds, in love. And by those measurements, they are stronger than any species I have ever known. Dr. Ha-Yun published her research paper on human protective instincts. It became required reading in every xenobiology course in Coalition space. She documented not just the physical aspects of Jiwan's pursuit, but the psychological and emotional elements that made it possible. Humans evolved as social creatures, she wrote. Their bonds are not just emotional connections. They are survival mechanisms. When a human says family, they mean something deeper than most species can comprehend. They mean, I will protect you with my life. I will cross any distance for you. I will never abandon you. This is not romantic notion. This is biological imperative combined with conscious choice. It makes them formidable beyond their physical capabilities. Ambassador Thelok found himself in an unusual position. The Kethrani, diplomat who had once dismissed human capabilities, was now their strongest advocate in coalition circles. He spoke at councils and universities, sharing what he had witnessed in the deep canyons. I have served the coalition for 50 standard years, he told an assembly on his homeworld. I have met warriors from every corner of known space. I have seen strength in all its forms, but I had never seen true determination until I followed Officer Park into those ruins. She was injured, exhausted, outmatched in every physical category, yet she never wavered, never doubted, never considered failure. That, my colleagues, is the human advantage, not their technology, not their adaptability, but their absolute refusal to accept defeat when protecting their own. His speeches led to significant policy changes. Human colonies received more support and resources. Earth gained greater representation in coalition governance. Military forces from several species requested human advisors to teach persistence tactics and family-oriented motivational techniques. New Haven itself transformed. The frontier colony that had been seen as a minor human outpost became a destination for aliens seeking to understand humanity. Visitors came to see where the Badger lived, to walk the paths she had taken through the wilderness, to stand in the ruins where she made her stand. Ji-Wan accepted a promotion to training officer. Commander Tae-sung had asked her to develop a rapid response unit based on her tactics. She agreed, not for the recognition, but because she believed in being prepared. If another family faced what she had faced, she wanted them to have every possible advantage. Her training methods surprised even veteran officers. She didn't focus on strength or weapons first. She focused on why soldiers fought, on what they protected, on finding purpose in their duty. She taught that physical skills were important, but mental determination was everything. Anyone can learn to shoot straight, she told her first class, which included both humans and several alien species. Anyone can follow tactics, but when things go wrong, when you're injured and exhausted and every logical voice says quit, what keeps you going? Purpose. Know what you fight for, know who you protect. Everything else is just details. Daeho completed his revised project on interspecies relations. His teacher, the Kethrani with 4 arms, praised it as the best work she had seen in her career. The boy had taken his experience and turned it into genuine understanding. He wrote about how fear and respect could transform into mutual appreciation, about how one frightening experience taught him that all species, human and alien alike, were capable of both good and bad choices. When he presented to his class, a young Vrexian student raised a tentacle nervously. The presence of Vrexian children on New Haven was new. After Kralvex's arrest, several Vrexian families had requested to live on the colony as a gesture of peace and understanding. Is it true? The young Vrexian asked. What they say about your sister? That she is the Badger? Daeho looked at Ji-Wan, who sat in the back of the classroom as she had promised. She gave him a small nod. Yes, Daeho said. She is. But she's more than that. She's my sister. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that humans won't do for family. The young Vrexian nodded slowly, understanding passing across their features. In the back row, Ambassador Thelok made notes on his datapad. He was compiling a comprehensive guide to human psychology and culture. This moment would be included, a perfect illustration of what made humans unique. Later, he approached Ji-Wan as she waited for Daeho. They had become unlikely friends during the aftermath, bound by shared experience. Officer Park, I wanted you to know. My comprehensive study will be published next month. It will be distributed to every coalition member world. Future generations of aliens will grow up understanding humans properly, not through stereotypes or assumptions, but through truth. Ji-won smiled slightly. What will you call it? Understanding Humanity. A study in determination and bonds. He paused. The opening chapter is titled, The Badger Incident. I hope you do not mind. I don't mind, Ji-won said, as long as people learn the right lesson. And what lesson is that? That humans are not strong because we are fearless. We are strong because we choose to face our fears. We are not powerful because we lack emotion. We are powerful because our emotions drive us to protect what matters. And we are not dangerous because we seek conflict. We are dangerous because we will do absolutely anything for the people we love. Thelok nodded. Those exact words will be the book's dedication. 6 months after the incident, the coalition held a formal ceremony honoring Ji-won's actions. Representatives from dozens of worlds attended. Medals were presented, speeches were made. Ji-won accepted it all with quiet grace, uncomfortable with the attention but understanding its importance. But the moment that mattered most to her came after the ceremony. Daeho ran up to her with his usual enthusiasm, holding a new datapad. Look, I started a new project. This one is about human exploration and courage. Can you help me with it tonight? Ji-won knelt to his level, just like she had all those months ago. Promise? Promise. He held out his pinky. She linked her pinky with his. Their ritual, their bond, their promise. Around them, alien dignitaries watched and recorded. This simple moment between siblings would be analyzed and studied for years. Some would see it as quaint human custom, but the wise ones, the ones like Thelok and Rikstar and even reformed hunters like Kralvex, they understood the truth. This was where human strength came from, not from weapons or technology, not from size or speed. From these small moments of connection, from promises made and kept, from the unbreakable bonds between people who loved each other. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Humanity had earned respect not through aggression, but through determination. Not through dominance, but through unwavering loyalty. Not through fear, but through the fierce protection of family. And in the quiet moments between the speeches and ceremonies, in the small apartment where Ji-won and Daeho lived their normal lives, the true message remained simple and clear. Humans were not prey. They were not weak. They were not to be underestimated. Because when you threatened their family, you didn't just face an individual. You faced the full force of human determination. You faced bonds stronger than steel. You faced love transformed into an unstoppable force.